history was not made by winning or getting to our 19th straight NCAA tournament. History was made as I was walking through my office today, just 2 minutes ago, and secretary showed me a paper of a headline that even the Lansing or even the media makes mistakes. So history was made this weekend. Glad we're a 1 seed, and I hope it helps us through the tournament. But it is an honor to be going to our 19th straight. I don't know if I would ever, certain things you don't dream about, and that probably would be one of them. The longest streak in the Big Ten is something that has been earned by a lot of players and a lot of assistant coaches over the years, and I'm just proud to be a part of it. I think this team is prepared well for the tournament. The Big Ten now, with all the number of new coaches we've had over the last couple of years and the changing, we have so many different styles. And then the games we just played, we might have played one of the biggest teams that you could play against in the NCAA, and you played a very athletic one in Ohio State, and then maybe as talented a one through 5 as any in Maryland. So I think we played against different styles. I think we're as prepared as we can be. Last week we were all talking about what happens if Bryn doesn't shoot well, or, I was bringing up to you that I don't want to be a team that's living by the 3 and dying by the 3, and still our defense and rebounding has to be a staple. And I think it was a great example that he didn't shoot well. We didn't shoot necessarily really well, and we still found a way to beat quality teams. And I think that's the mark of a good team, whether it be by a pass or by a play or a block shot. We found a way to win some games with us not shooting as well. As far as Bryn goes, it really doesn't worry me. I thought, we got some better shots. I thought the first shot of the game and the first shot of the second half, there was nobody near him, and just ball didn't go in. But when you watch him shoot every day, it is the least of my worries. If we can play that well and not shoot well and win games of that magnitude, I like our chances to win more games, because I think he will shoot better, and so will we. But we did show we could win games in different ways. What do we got to focus on now? It's tightening up our offense. The second half, we still got a little sloppy. I think we made a couple errant passes. I think we took a couple bad shots, and I think we missed a couple of layups. I mean, those things are not going to be able to be tolerated if we're going to move on in this tournament. So we're going to spend a lot of time this week on cleaning up our own actions. The execution of things was pretty good. I thought we ran better after a sluggish go in the first half of the second half of the Maryland game. I thought we pushed it better. I thought Tom played better. That was encouraging. But this NCAA tournament is arguably the greatest event in sports. And with that goes a lot of distractions, and everybody, I get more calls today about our seeds. The hell with the seeds around the country. It's the games that matter, but that's the falderall of the NCAA tournament. And there's just so much out there. There's got to be programming for everything. And my big worry now is to try to win the weekend, and it starts with Middle Tennessee. They are very well coached. Kermit Davis has been in it for a long time. They're a team that's gone to the NCAA tournament before. A program that's gone there 5 out of the last 7 seasons. They shoot the ball, a little bit like us as far as the number of threes, but they got 5 guys that are shooting them. In other words, their center is a 3-point shooter, and so it'll be a little different cover. The Giddy Potts kid is leading the nation in 3-point field goal percentage shooting at over 50%. So we'll have our hands full with that. And then they play a lot of guys just like us. I think they got 10 guys almost averaging in double figures. So, today and tomorrow we'll prepare for the whole weekend. And just kind of home in on the task at hand first, which is Middle Tennessee on Wednesday and Thursday. And hopefully play Friday. So questions, I'll take them all.
Tom, I have two. First one, you haven't played games bang, bang, bang like that since California. So having done it earlier in the year, did it help in the tournament, and having it happen so quickly now to the NCAA where it won't happen that quickly, is that a benefit?
I think it is a benefit. I think, over in Italy, we played 3 games in 4 days, and it started there. And then that's why it's so important that, we went a few years without winning one of those preseason tournaments. I think playing the championship game and winning them, being on the stage to learn how to win a championship is important. And that's why I thought this weekend was so important. Now, it was tougher. I mean, it was really tough on my staff and players. I mean, when, you had 15 hours, 20 hours between games. And as far as prep time, you had less than that, whether you go almost sleepless or not. There's only so much you can do. And I thought we did a pretty good job of getting through that in one day. Now, we knew some of the teams, but it just happened. We didn't play Maryland since the beginning of January, and we didn't play Purdue since the beginning of February. So that was a little more unique. And, of course, we played Ohio State, I think, 5 times in a week. So that, too, was a unique situation. And I think it is going to help us. You get a day in between. Now that we got our system down with a new video guy and everything, I think everybody understands their jobs.
Elvin Ellis is a good kid, but there was a time he just wasn't been able to produce, and now he's become a threat. Defensively, he's there. He's making some shots. Would you just talk about his maturation?
Well, I think he matured as a person, and understanding that there are important things. As you said, he was always a pretty good kid. But, it's taking care of things off the court, in the classroom, and he's put more into his basketball. And just like it's supposed to happen for any one of us, if you put more in, you usually get more out. And he is becoming more of a threat, and he's starting to be more comfortable in himself and his own skin, and more comforting for us to feel we have somebody we can go to. And all the complaining I did and said I had to get my rotation down and all those things, we've actually done a pretty good job of utilizing our guys, and it's paying off now. It drove me nuts for a month, but shame on me. It's actually been a big plus for us in the way things are going now.
Going into that Big Ten tournament, there's a lot of talk about. It's been a while since you played in a tight game, and obviously you played in two in a row that were pretty close. And did you see what you wanted from the guys in terms of how they responded to the high pressure situations late in the games?
I don't know if I saw what I wanted to see, but what I saw was that we found a way to win, and that over anything else is the most important. Do you find a way to win? I think what else I found out is we're still a little bit, we're not where we need to be in those last 10 minutes of games yet. There's still, we got to tighten things up. That's the best word I can use. We just got to tighten things up a little bit as far as when we're taking a chance on a play, when we're throwing it up, what chances we're taking on defense, and what we want to run. That is maybe the hardest. Where do you want to go with different lineups and different teams you're playing? So it's going to give us a couple of days here to work on us, and that's going to be a good thing. But probably the biggest thing I learned is the most important, and that's, can you find a way to win? And sometimes no matter how you do it, or how lucky you are or how unlucky you are, if you can find a way to win, you grow into that too. And with a guy like Denzel, he might make a mistake here and there, but he does an incredible job of finding a way to win.
You talked about things you didn't even dream about. Have you allowed it yourself at any moment to think about what it would be like Final Four weekend with your team and a chance to go in the Hall of Fame?
No, I really haven't done that yet. There's too many good teams in front of us. Do you dream about a Final Four? Yes. You always dream about a Final Four if you're at Michigan State. I think every year I do dream about that. But it's a dream that you look at for a minute and then you realize how hard it is to get there and how lucky you got to be and all the things you got to go through, because being good enough is just one factor in that. And the Hall of Fame thing is, it'll be like the number one seed. It would be frosting on a cake. It's not an obsession right now. There's too many. It's too far-fetched to worry about, and it's definitely not in my hands to worry about it. So I'm going to just worry about the things that are in my control, and that's preparing this team the best I can to be able to handle a lot of different situations. And like I said earlier, the hard thing about the Big Ten or the NCAA tournament is it's gotten so big. There are so many distractions, and I sure don't want my individual thing being a distraction, even though you wouldn't get those things without players and teams and assistant coaches and administrators and all the people that help. We're going to leave this to our team and our program and try to see how far we can get. And I'll worry about those other things if they happen and when they happen.
Back to Denzel, he's obviously worked so hard on so many aspects of his game, but you've talked before about other guys about changing personalities, which you believe can be done. I'm wondering how much has his personality changed? It seems like this year he's just being more demonstrative at times, holding people accountable, which seems a little bit not natural for him.
It's not. It's not. I told him it's his final frontier. It's the final thing he has to accomplish to go from, I don't know, great to elite. I mean, from really special to really, really special. I don't know what the words are, but it is, for a guy that has his knowledge, his ability to coach a team, his ability to drag people with him, there does come a time when even a team has to know on the floor when somebody talks, easy F Hutton, and to gain that, you have to have the ability to. It doesn't always come by being a nice guy, and Denzel is a nice guy. He's well respected. He's got the respect of his players. Once you have that, I say you have a license to almost do whatever you need to do. He said something to me after I think it was the Maryland game that really struck my buddy Mariucci. He was sitting in the locker room, and I wasn't, thrilled with how we played in that last little stretch. And I said, you want me to pat you on the back? You want me to chew you out? You want me to, find a happy medium? What do you guys want? And Denzel says, whatever it takes to win a championship. It doesn't matter, whatever it takes to win a championship. And I think that was a hell of a statement by a 22-year-old kid. And boy, I got a ton of respect for that statement. So maybe someday, a few years from now, that'll be in a locker room, or that'll be like the moments of work to a lifetime of memories. That'll be one of those clichéic lines that I didn't use, he used, and I thought it was outstanding.
Tom, two-parter for you. Your rotation, it seemed to use 10 or 11 guys on both Saturday and Sunday, and obviously with the Big Ten tournament being so close together, was that something necessitated just out of fatigue and the guys having so low recovery time, or you just kind of putting them out there when they
got back? It really didn't. I pulled some guys really early. I let them know that certain things we got to do, and I pulled Denzel early twice, and sometimes for 30 seconds just to tell him, we can't. We got to do the things we need to do to win, and sometimes all of us make mistakes, including me. So that's how it started out. With the bigs, we thought we'd have a rotation of, I don't know if anybody in here has wrestled. My cousin was a college wrestler, and Mariucci's dad was a wrestling coach, and so we used to wrestle some in the summers and work out with people wrestling, and you never seen a sport where you can get so tired in 3 minutes. Well, my big guys were wrestling with, monsters in there. And so what wasn't going up and down, just the grappling and wrestling and moving, I think it fatigues you more than sometimes the physical running. So that game plan was there. We did get in a little bit of foul trouble in the perimeter, might have aided some of that. But we also started feeling some confidence in some guys. Tom was playing better. Elvin was playing better. Aaron got in a little foul trouble, and we were worried when he got the one foul right off the bat. In the Maryland game, we were worried that, we can't lose him because we needed him for Trumbull. So, we looked at things that way.
And I know you always talk about Colby being vital to Deontay's development, but how about in the second half yesterday? Colby soaring up like Deontay for that putback when Matt missed the three.
God, if you would have heard our guys or saw our bench during that moment, it just kind of tells you everything that I think all of us have talked about on how close this team is. Hell, I think Deontay clapped, and he does that once a year, whether it's good or bad, and he was excited for Kobe. And what a great play by Kobe, a couple of great plays, but more than the scoring was the defense he played. He was swarming, he was all over, and it was so fun. When we walked in last night, I said, hey, I know it's tough to not play for 3 games, and then all of a sudden you're playing, but as Kobe always answers, I'll be ready when you need me. It's kind of like Denzel's, hey, you do what you got to do to make sure that we have a chance to win. And this team has done that at a level that supersedes, I think, any that I've ever had.
Tom, after all these years of appearances, how much have you learned, or how much do you tweak or change how you approach this time of year?
I think I made the biggest tweaks this year in my mind, and it was forced. It was forced on us because of the fact that 2-3 weeks left, we were almost out of the race, as strange as that is. So I did go to this one-and-done approach, and trying to make guys understand that. I heard somebody talking about it on TV last night, and they said, a coach said, you got to make players understand that in one-and-done time, it's different than the regular season. And I just laughed in my own office, to say, yeah, and that's we have to coach that way too, though, and that sometimes doesn't go over big. We have to make sure that that means a guy that's always on people has got almost double and triple it, and that's hard, and it's hard for a coach because you have to balance it. You don't want to get them going too early. But with this team, I just felt like I can get on my best player. I can do it every day if I wanted to. I could do it every day if I needed to. When you have that makes it so much easier for the rest of the guys. And so, I started texting and talking and bringing Zell in 3 weeks ago and talking about this. We got to prepare a little different if these are your goals and this is what you want to accomplish, because the parity this year is so close. I said there's going to be 8 seeds, 9 seeds, 10 seeds that are going to be really good, and the difference in those and the 1, 2s, and 3s is going to be so minimal that little things are going to matter. And so I think that's where I've probably changed the most. That doesn't mean it's going to work or not going to work, but I do think we've got to always adjust a little bit and tweak things.
So have you seen a different type of growth this year, late in the year?
In my own way, that minute in the locker room when Denzel says you do whatever you got to do, that means they grew. That means they understood it. That means they get it. Because I don't want to be held accountable every minute of every day. I'd like to live my life a little bit too. But when you're trying to get to that top of that pyramid where only one team's left standing, you got to do what you got to do. And I think, when you look at programs that have won consistently, I tried to look at and read up on some things that Belichick has done and, what they've done there and why are they always knocking at the door with what some people would say not as good a talent other than their quarterback of a lot of teams. I've seen some teams that have great talent, Kentucky or, Alabama in football and what they've done and how do you sustain that. And it's usually by grinding it. There's a couple of common denominators. You're usually grinding it. You're usually a very good defensive team. If coaches need to get respect from players too. It's not just given anymore. Let me promise you that. And I think when I started preaching, as good as we were shooting it, every press conference I talked about, I don't want to fall in love with the three-point shot. I don't want to become a shot shooting team. I don't want to make our game rely on how well we score. And I'd look around or I'd talk to people, and people would look at me like, my God, you're shooting almost 50% from the three, chill out. It happened. We didn't shoot so well and in 2 games, and we won a championship. So I think that gives players some understanding of what a coach is talking about too.
You mentioned yesterday you were thinking about bringing up some of these 15-2 upsets there's been over the year. Wonder how you kind of prepare these guys mentally for a game like this where the spread's probably pretty big, but yet it's so important.
Well, I got a couple of my managers doing a little research on that right now as we speak. We'll have a team meeting today at 3. But I'm not going to scare them into anything. I just want to make sure they understand. I think this team is more prepared than some, because I think that the day we got beat at Duke, in Denzel's mind, I'm on the planet, I'm on this earth for one reason, and that's to try to get back here and do even more next year. And that's his mentality. That was his mentality in Italy. That was his mentality when he had, hernia surgery. That was his mentality in the fall. And if there's one guy that's been more consistent than me, it's been him as far as what he wants. Sometimes I got to tell him, hey, those things don't always work out. But he's been pretty consistent on that. And so I'm not as worried about not being ready. Those games we played, there wasn't one game I didn't think we were ready to play. Some games we played better or worse. But on that first game, we had just beaten Ohio State by 20, 2 games in a row. And there was no practices, didn't go different. There was no entitlement. I think this is a very unentitled team in a good way, and yet confident enough to be good in another way.
Tom, you talked a lot about the one being icing on the cake, and earlier you said if you had your choice, you'd play on Friday. How did you feel when you found out you were number 2, but you play on Friday and you go to Chicago?
Well, we're actually going to St. Louis, and that's one thing I got to make sure everybody of our Spartan Nation understands. You can look at the 116 or 215 or 314, and there hasn't been a ton of upsets, a few, but not a ton. But those next games, there's some 8, 9, 7, 10 games that are going to be with real good teams. So I'm definitely not looking past the weekend, and yet I'm definitely looking to the weekend. But more importantly, on your question, I was hoping for a Friday game. I think anytime you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday in a Big Ten tournament with all that emotion, you got to give the Big Ten credit on one thing. This setting has gotten to be really big time. It's almost a Final Four-like setting there, and the video and what they do. It's pretty cool, but that is emotionally draining along with physically draining. And so you hope that you don't get sent out west on a Thursday. And we did that once with Draymond and lost. And I'm not saying it was because of that, but that makes it tough. We got home at midnight last night, and if we were looking at taking off tonight or tomorrow to go to wherever, I think it would be more difficult. So I was more excited about the Friday. More excited we didn't have to travel far, yes, meaning St. Louis is, right out of 1 hour out of our time zone. That's good, and not a long flight. So that and the Friday excited me the most. The 1 seed, I can't say when we walked in there and we found out that there wasn't a little bit of, down just because I'll tell you the only thing for me that the 1 seed would have done. Last night I heard Kansas has now been a 1 seed 6 out of the last 12 or 14 years, and I think we've been 4 been a 1 seed 4 times since 2000. Is it 4? And 12. So 4 times, that would have been 5. It just gives you it gives something else for your program. It ain't gonna do nothing for winning, but right now this program means something to me, and the respect the program gets. So that was the only thing about it. As far as the games goes, it had no bearing.
Time for a couple more if there are. Tom, Deontay, can you talk about the things that you can't coach that he brings to the table, and the things that you can coach and he can improve on that he has?
Well, I teased Denzel that, you can throw a lob from your ankle and it's completed, but if you threw it anywhere in the building, DeAndre probably like Mr. Gadget. You ever see that show where he just probably cranked that arm and probably would have dunked it anyway? So I couldn't give Denzel enough credit for the pass. That's one of the things Deontay does that it's hard to coach. I try coaching that. It just doesn't work with my size. So he's coming. He's getting better every day. He's still, like every freshman, there's a little inconsistency. And when you get a senior in a Deontay, I think they take advantage of him. He gets in a little foul trouble because he hasn't learned how to foul the right way and not get caught. And he hasn't, learned to do the things that you got to do to survive. But he's really getting better, and he's getting better every day. And he's believe it or not, fun to coach 90% of the time. There's 10% you're frustrated because he could play harder, he could do this better. But I got seniors that could do that. He's a gifted kid that no ego, humble, gets along with everybody, and starting to laugh, smile, and clap. And so we're making progress on the court and off.
Tom, you alluded to Potts and Middle Tennessee's ability to shoot the three. First of all, what do you know about him as a shooter? Is he more with the ball, off the ball? And secondly, can you talk a little bit about your defense around the arc and what you've seen from your guys this year and their improvement?
Well, he seems to be able to shoot it anywhere. He's got it in his hand some, but he's coming off some picks some too. But as far as my team goes, it's ironic that Aaron Harris, since about the middle of January, has really bought into being a defensive player. It's amazing. He's bought in from how he works to how he thinks to the film he watches. In all aspects, he's really bought in. He's talking more and can say more than even Denzel right now, and that's progress. And then, the second one is Bryn. He goes 1 for 6 from the three, and we got him in there. And we got him in there because he's playing defense now. He's communicating. He's doing things. I think those two guys have grown enormously. I think Denzel was always like a Draymond. He's a good defensive player by brains, and he can get away with some things. And the other thing that was encouraging, I thought Tom has struggled. The last, I don't know what he's been back 3 weeks. 2.5 weeks where he's playing a little bit more. He struggled. And I thought he played his best game both defensively and offensively. So those things are encouraging because in this league, in this tournament, you're going to run into some teams with some really good guards. And Elvin Ellis being able to play a little bit more and being better defensively. I don't know one of those guys that hasn't got – the guy that hasn't gotten better defensively for the most part is Tom because he's kind of been the same. But those other guys have all upgraded their defense because I think they communicate more and they do more together. So I think that helps your defense. We're kind of a real team, defensive team, we don't have necessarily just a lockdown guy like a Cleaves who'll just get into you or Travis Walton who'll just get into you, We're more of a team defensive team.
Tom, you mentioned a lot at the beginning of the year how you didn't know what it was, but you just felt really, really good. And lately it seems like you've been on a bit of an edge lately. But I was just wondering, you're still having fun with this group of guys, right? And what's it like to finally be at tournament time?
Well, I'm glad tournament time's here. You know, it's a long season when you start playing 32, 33 games, but 34 games. But there better be an edge. There better be an edge. You know, I'm going to be polite and say I'd like you to tell Belichick that there's no edge in tournament time or playoff time. You know, or playoff time, tournament time is you know, more things matter. You know, they do in coaching, they do in playing, and conventional wisdom will tell you that every game is the same. And I'm not a good conventional wisdom guy. You know, there are bigger games than others. You hope to coach them all the same in some ways, but you also understand when you've been in a while, everybody's human. And right now, the edge is, there's never an edge if you don't think you have a chance. You know, if you're a 1 in 50 chance, there's no edge. You don't have to be on edge. In fact, you might go the other way because you're worried about your team not feeling good about themselves. What's been a blessing for me is this team is, you know, confident enough to be great, but cocky enough to be great too. And I think you got to be a little bit of both, and you got to be egoless and selfless. And I think this team has all those qualities. So I struggle once in a while, you know, if Zell still makes a bad pass because he's too good to make passes across his body. They get picked off. I struggle if Costello's missing a layup or not doing the things that he's supposed to do because he's smart enough and good enough to do them. And it's just getting those guys to realize that. And I think the more I push them, like I said, I don't think Denzel's statement will be here forever. I know it will be because that's the way it should be, you know. And that's the way I'd say to someone to me, you know, you push me to the point where I can accomplish the goals I've set. And I'm going to take it. I might not like it, but I'm going to take it. And that's the trust that I think players got to have in coaches and coaches got to have in players.
Joe, the last one. A couple quick questions on Goins. Any chance of him this weekend? And then also, do you feel like if you don't have him back or don't have much of him that you've got things figured out more at the 4? Or are there still some matchup situations where he could really be handy?
You know, I was comfortable with Goins not playing until we played Maryland, and I went back and watched that tape, and he played 25 or 26 minutes in that game. And as you watch that tape, there's just some things he can do better than some of our other guys. You know, we got Marvin maybe shoots it a little better than this guy, but Kenny had long arms. He's 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", a little bigger, and can really cover that pick and pop 6'8", 4-man. He can, you know, he's almost strong enough to cover him in the block. He's very smart. So his help defense in that game was off the charts, and something I didn't realize during it until you're missing it, and then you kind of see it. Kenny Goins would really help us, and the best I can hope for maybe is the second weekend to be a spot player if we're in foul trouble. But I just think the amount of time he's had off, the chances are slim to none that he'll get in any in the rotation, at least as of right now. You never know. A week ago, he couldn't do anything. Then all of a sudden, I come the next day after I tell you guys he's out there shooting. That's as far as it's gone. He's not stepped foot in a drill. I think he's done a few layups. It's been strange, you know. Hernia surgery, he recovered faster than anybody we've had by 2 weeks. This one, it's just been a slower recovery, and that's too bad for us because I still say, you know, that's one of the, I guess if I looked at, I heard Calipari go off as only he can, and the only thing I agreed with there, and these injuries are part of it, you know, what is the criteria for these things? It seems to be changing every year on what they want. Kenny Goins would make us a better team, and he's just another one of the 4 or 5 guys that we've had injured for a significant period of time that I think would have helped us some. Thanks, guys.